It started with an email neither of them expected. Dana had just come in from watering the backyard garden, still wearing her gloves when she heard Greg curse under his breath. It wasn't like him. Greg was even-keeled, a small-town math teacher who rarely raised his voice, let alone swore. Dana slipped off her gloves and stepped closer to where he sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, unread messages still blinking. "You okay?" she asked. He looked up at her slowly, like his brain hadn't caught up to his face yet. "Do you remember me mentioning that I donated sperm in college?" Her stomach dropped, not from suspicion but from the suddenness of the question. "Barely," she said. "You mentioned it once, maybe. Said it paid for a semester's books." He nodded. "I was barely 20 when I did it, just trying to scrape by. Well, someone found me." Dana blinked. "Found you?" He turned the screen toward her. The subject line read, "Seeking connection from your donor daughter." Dana sat hard. The message was short but impossible to misread. The sender was a 19-year-old girl named Kayla. She claimed to be his biological daughter. She was respectful, even kind in her words, but direct. She had taken a 23andMe test on a whim. And then, like a domino falling, it all came down. "I just want to know where I come from," she wrote. Dana stared at the screen, the words blurring. She and Greg had tried to have children for nearly a decade. 3 failed IVF rounds. 2 miscarriages. They'd accepted the silence that followed, the doctor's final, "I'm sorry," the closing of that chapter. They had grieved, healed, and built a life around what they had, each other. But this was a different kind of storm. "She doesn't want money," Greg said quickly. "She just wants to talk." Dana didn't reply. The air felt too tight. "You never told me you actually went through with it," she said finally. "I didn't think it mattered," he replied, his voice quiet. "It was 20 years ago." Dana stood, hands on the back of the chair. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. Instead, she walked to the fridge and opened it like she might find answers among the Tupperware. "Do you want to meet her?" she asked. Greg hesitated. That was the first red flag. And it burned. 2 weeks passed. Dana tried to act like life was normal. Greg taught his classes, came home, made dinner. But she could feel the shift, the anticipation just under the surface. Then one afternoon, Greg came home early. He held out his phone like a confession. "She's here. In town. She wants to meet tomorrow." Dana didn't speak. Her silence stretched so long, Greg finally asked, "Can I?" That night Dana didn't sleep. She kept picturing this girl. What did she look like? Did she have Greg's eyes? His laugh? The thought made Dana nauseous with grief. By morning, she had made her decision. "I want to come with you," she told him. "If you're meeting her, I'm meeting her too." Greg looked surprised, but relieved. "Are you sure?" he asked. She wasn't, but she nodded. The coffee shop was small and quiet, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. Dana spotted her immediately. She was sitting by the window, nervously twisting a silver ring on her finger. She looked up, smiled, stood. "Hi," she said. "I'm Kayla." Greg extended a hand, but Kayla bypassed it and hugged him. Dana watched, her breath catching. Then Kayla turned to her. "You must be Dana." "Yes," Dana said, offering a polite nod. "I'm his wife." They sat. Awkward small talk followed. But then Kayla said something that changed everything. "My mom told me the donor didn't want to be contacted, but I found out her name and tracked her down. She's in a care facility now. But she told me something else before she got sick. She said there might be more." Greg frowned. "More? You weren't just a donor," Kayla said softly. "You were the only one they used. 4 dozens of pregnancies. I might have siblings. A lot of them." Dana went cold. And then Kayla added, "I think I've already found 3. The room fell into silence, the weight of it suffocating. Then Kayla reached into her bag, pulled out a folder, and slid it across the table. Inside were photographs. Names. Birthdays. DNA confirmations. Greg opened the folder with trembling hands. He looked up at Dana, eyes wide with disbelief. "Oh my God," he whispered. And Dana, barely breathing, whispered back, "How many are there?" There were 9. 9 confirmed matches in the folder Kayla brought. Dana counted them in stunned silence, 9 faces staring back from the page, all young adults, all biologically tied to Greg. Some looked like him, one had his cleft chin, another his exact eyes, but others bore no resemblance at all. Still, science didn't lie. "This is a lot," Greg said, his voice faint, his fingers still gripping the edges of the paper like it might float away if he let go. Kayla was gentle in her delivery, but her words landed like bricks. "I've talked to 3 of them. One's in Chicago, one's in Denver, and one's just a town over. They're all curious. Some are scared. Some don't even know yet." Dana couldn't take her eyes off the page. "Why now?" she finally asked. Why reach out now after all these years? Kayla hesitated. Because I've always wanted to know who I came from. And when my mom got sick, I realized I might never get another chance. Greg exhaled, long and low, and for the first time, Dana saw a new kind of fear in his face, the fear of identity unraveling. She reached for his hand across the table, not entirely sure why. Maybe habit. Maybe hope. We need time, she said quietly, looking at Kayla. To process this. Kayla nodded, understanding. She stood, smiled softly, and left them there with the weight of their new reality. At home, the silence was different now, no longer peaceful but loaded, like every room was listening. Greg spent the rest of the evening flipping through the folder. Dana tried to read, cook, distract herself, but she could feel the storm brewing. You should have told me, she said finally. Greg looked up. I didn't know this would happen. But you knew you donated. You knew there was a possibility. I thought it was anonymous. Nothing stays anonymous forever, Greg. The words came out sharper than she intended. He looked wounded, but Dana couldn't soften. Not this time. That night, they lay in bed like strangers. No goodnight kiss. No touch. Just space. Empty, unfamiliar space. Over the next week, Greg grew distant. Not angry, just preoccupied. Dana caught him checking his email more often, his phone buzzing with notifications he didn't explain. Are you talking to her? She asked one morning over coffee. A little, he admitted. She sends updates. She says 2 more siblings have agreed to talk. Dana tried to smile. Failed. So what does that make it now? 11. She stared at him. 11. Greg nodded, eyes fixed on the mug in his hand. That afternoon, Dana went to see her sister, Rachel. She hadn't said anything until now, but the pressure was too much. He has 11 kids, Rachel. 11. Out there. Walking around. And they're all his. Rachel's eyes widened. You're kidding me. Dana laughed bitterly. I wish. Rachel's voice softened. So what now? What do you want? I don't know, Dana said. I don't even know what I'm allowed to want. Am I supposed to welcome this? Treat them like family? Or am I allowed to feel betrayed? You're allowed to feel anything you want, Rachel said gently. But maybe you need to ask Greg what he feels. That night, Dana tried. She sat beside him on the couch, folder open again between them. What are you hoping for with them? Greg didn't answer right away. Then finally, I don't know. Maybe connection. Maybe just understanding. They're my blood, Dana. I feel something. Even if it's new. Dana looked at him, feeling something break loose inside her. And where does that leave me? She asked. Greg opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the doorbell rang. They weren't expecting anyone. Greg stood slowly, went to the door, and opened it. And there, on the porch, was a young woman. Not Kayla. Someone else. Hi, she said nervously. I think I'm your daughter. I was hoping I could meet you. Greg froze. Dana stood behind him, wide-eyed. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw something even more shocking, a car parked down the street. Another young man sitting in the driver's seat, watching. Waiting. There's more, Dana whispered. And in her gut, she knew it wasn't just more people. It was more secrets. Deeper. Older. Still buried. And not all of them were Greg's. The girl on the porch introduced herself as Lila. She was 19, a sophomore at Northwestern, and had only discovered Greg's name after taking a deeper dive into her DNA report and finding the donor registry match. I know this is a lot, she said. Her voice shook slightly, though she tried to keep her chin up. But once I found your name, I couldn't stop thinking about what it would mean to actually meet you. Greg invited her in with a stiffness Dana had never seen in him. Lila stepped inside slowly, taking in the home, the photos on the wall, the muted colors, the quiet warmth of a life she'd never been part of. She stopped to look at a picture of Greg and Dana from their wedding, and something unreadable flickered across her face. That's beautiful, she said. Thanks, Dana replied cautiously. She didn't know if she was being rude, cold, or simply protective of the life she'd spent years grieving over, the children they never had. They sat around the kitchen table, the same one where Kayla had first turned their lives upside down. Greg offered Lila coffee. She asked for water. And then, as if flipping a switch, she launched into a well-rehearsed story. My mom never married. She was a nurse. Told me from the start that I came from a donor. It never bothered me, not really. But when she passed away last year, I realized I didn't want to be alone anymore. So I started looking. Dana listened quietly, nodding occasionally until Lila said something that made her spine stiffen. I didn't just find you, she said, glancing between them. I found Kayla. And Tyler. And Max. We've started a group chat. There's 7 of us in there now, and more are getting at it every week. Greg leaned back in his chair. A group chat. Yeah, Lila said with a small smile. It's like a digital family reunion. Kind of wild, honestly. Dana couldn't help the words that came out next. And what do you all want from Greg? Lila blinked, surprised. Nothing. I mean, at least I don't. I just wanted to know where I come from. She paused. But I think some of them, they might want more. After Lila left, Dana watched from the window as she climbed into the car with the young man still sitting behind the wheel. She leaned over, kissed his cheek. Brother, probably. Or worse, her boyfriend, watching the father-daughter reunion unfold like a scene from a show. Greg joined Dana by the window. She was nice, he said. Dana didn't respond. That night, she dreamt of children running through their home. Faces she didn't recognize. Laughs that weren't hers. In the dream, Greg was chasing them and she was just watching. Invisible. Forgotten. The next morning, Dana got up before sunrise. She sat on the porch steps wrapped in a blanket, coffee going cold in her hands. Her mind kept circling back to something Lila had said, more getting at it every week. How many? And how long could their quiet life absorb the ripple before it cracked entirely? When Greg came out to join her, he looked tired. I have to tell you something, he said. Another one emailed me last night. Dana didn't speak. She said her mom never told her anything. She only found out when a health scare required a genetic test. Now she's angry. Says she wants answers. Dana stood. What are you going to do, Greg? Invite them all over for a potluck? That's not fair. Isn't it? She snapped. You dropped this bomb into our life and now I'm just supposed to adjust to, what? A dozen kids showing up with open arms? They're not kids, Greg said. They're adults. And they're mine. Whether we like it or not. Dana turned away, trying to breathe through the sting in her chest. I'm not sure I can do this, she whispered. You don't have to, he replied, voice flat. But I do. That night, Dana went to the guest room. She stared at the ceiling for hours, then picked up her phone and opened her email. She found the contact info Kayla had left behind. It only took a moment of impulse to click compose. Her message was short. Direct. We need to talk. Just us. She hit send. The next morning, Kayla responded with one line. I was hoping you'd say that. They met at a park halfway between both their homes. Kayla was already waiting, sitting on a bench with a thermos. Chamomile, she said, holding it out. For the nerves. Dana accepted it without a smile. I need you to be honest with me, she said. What do you all want from Greg? Kayla hesitated. I can only speak for me. I wanted to know him. But others? I think some want more than that. Dana's chest tightened. Like what? Answers. Connection. Maybe belonging. Kayla's voice dropped. And one of them, his name is Noah, he's angry. Says his mom lied to him for years. He says if Greg won't answer, he'll go public. Dana's jaw clenched. What does that mean? Kayla met her eyes. He says Greg owes him a life. And just then, Dana's phone buzzed. It was a text from Greg. For words that made her heart drop. Someone's at the door. Dana drove faster than she should have, her mind spinning with what Kayla had just told her. Someone was angry. Someone wanted revenge. And now someone was at the door. When she pulled into the driveway, Greg was standing on the porch, arms crossed, brows tight. A tall young man stood beside him, muscular, early 20s, dark eyes that didn't blink much. Dana stepped out of the car slowly, watching them. Noah, she guessed, though she didn't know how she knew. The boy turned his head, gave a half nod. So you've heard of me? Just now, Dana said. From Kayla. Greg cleared his throat. He showed up 5 minutes ago. Said he wanted to talk. No, Noah said. I said I wanted truth. Talk implies we're on equal footing. Dana stiffened. This wasn't going to be like Kayla or Lila. This wasn't going to be gentle. She led them inside, her body tense. They sat around the kitchen table again, her kitchen table, once a place of breakfast and crossword puzzles and now a stage for family she'd never asked for. Noah sat stiffly, barely touching the water Greg offered him. You lied, he said flatly, looking at Greg. I didn't lie, Greg replied. I donated anonymously. I didn't know any of this would happen. You gave away pieces of yourself like candy, Noah said. And now there are people walking around this country with your DNA, your smile, your jawline, and no idea why they feel like something's missing. Dana spoke up. Why now, Noah? Because my mom died, he said. A car crash. She was drunk. After the funeral, I went through her things. Found paperwork. Found your donor number. Did a little digging. Then I found Kayla. And then Kayla told me everything. His voice sharpened. She said you're a teacher. Married. No kids. That right? Greg nodded slowly. We tried, Dana said. It just didn't work out. Noah looked at her then, eyes narrowing like he was trying to solve a math problem no one had asked him to figure out. So you didn't get to have kids, but you have all of us. And you don't even know our names. I know some of them, Greg said, his voice soft. But it's overwhelming. Must be, Noah sneered. Imagine how it feels for us. He stood abruptly. You're gonna hear from me again. Not just me, others too. And maybe next time it won't be at your front door. Maybe it'll be on the news. Or online. He pulled a folded sheet from his jacket and slammed it on the table. These are the forums. The threads. We're not just chatting anymore. We're organizing. Dana's breath caught as she glanced at the paper. There were usernames, locations, theories. Some labeled Greg as a coward. Some called him a ghost. One post asked, what if he's hiding more than donor records? After Noah left, the house felt colder. Quieter. Like even the walls weren't sure what to believe anymore. Greg sat down slowly. I didn't think it would turn into this, he said. You keep saying that, Dana replied. But it keeps turning anyway. For the next few days, they didn't talk much. Dana found herself pacing at night, checking locks, replaying Noah's words. She wasn't scared of him exactly, but something in his voice had struck a nerve. The fury. The certainty. The deep, echoing hunger for something no one could give him. It made her wonder, what if someone did want more than answers? What if someone wanted payback? Then, on Friday, Greg's school held a community event. Dana offered to come with him, unsure if she was trying to support him or protect him. They mingled, smiling through strained small talk with teachers and parents. It was going okay. Until she saw the boy. Standing near the refreshments. Watching Greg like a hawk. He didn't approach, didn't smile, just stared. Dana nudged Greg. Do you know him? Greg squinted. No. Not one of mine. He knows you. When the boy finally left, Dana grabbed Greg's hand. We need to talk to someone, she said. A lawyer. A counselor. Someone. We haven't done anything wrong, Greg said. We might not have, Dana answered. But if this gets public, they'll decide what's wrong. Not us. That night, as they locked up the house, Dana checked the front window one last time. And there, parked 2 houses down, was the same car from before. Someone watching. Still. Waiting. Her phone buzzed. A new email. Subject, you don't know what you've done. The sender was anonymous. The attachment? A photo of Greg, college-aged, holding a red Solo cup at what looked like a frat party. Dana stared. Then she saw the woman next to him. Smiling. Pregnant. And Greg, arm around her, had his face pressed to her stomach. Dana couldn't breathe. The photo stared back at her from the screen, too vivid, too real. It wasn't the grainy snapshot of a college party she'd expected. It was intimate. Clear. Personal. Greg, 19 or 20, was beaming. And the girl beside him, young, radiant, visibly pregnant, was someone Dana had never seen before. They weren't posing like strangers at a kegger. They looked like a couple. A couple expecting a child. Dana turned the laptop toward Greg without a word. His smile faded the moment he saw the image. She watched the color drain from his face, watched his shoulders cave in like the weight of it all had just doubled. What is this? Dana asked. Who is she? Greg didn't speak right away. Instead, he closed his eyes, ran both hands through his hair, and sat down slowly like the truth had too many sharp edges to hold all at once. Her name was Erin, he said finally. We were together. For a little while. While? Dana echoed. She's pregnant in this photo. And you're what? Celebrating it? Greg nodded slowly. She told me she was pregnant 2 weeks before she vanished. Dropped out? No goodbye. No calls. She just left. And you never tried to find her? Dana's voice was shaking now, somewhere between disbelief and betrayal. I didn't know what to do, Greg said. I was just a kid. I figured maybe it wasn't mine. Or maybe she didn't want me in the picture. Dana stood up so fast the chair scraped hard against the floor. You told me your only connection to fatherhood was that donation. You swore that was it. I believed it, Greg insisted. I swear I did. I thought if she needed me, she'd find me. And then college got busy. Life moved on. And now it's circling back, Dana muttered, pacing the room. Coming straight through her door with names, faces, and now secrets. Greg stood too. I didn't lie, Dana. I forgot. I buried it because it felt too complicated, too painful. We weren't anything serious. And I never got any answers. Well, now we're both living in the shadow of your unanswered questions, she snapped. And someone out there has this photo and sent it to me, not you. Which means they know more than we do. That night, they barely spoke. Dana slept in the guest room again. She replayed the conversation over and over, each time with a deeper ache. Because it wasn't just the lies, it was the layers. And if this woman, Erin, had a baby, that child would be older than Kayla. Older than all the donor offspring. Maybe 21. Maybe older. Maybe angry. The next morning, Dana did something she hadn't done in years. She called a private investigator. Greg didn't protest. He just nodded, too drained to argue. By evening, Dana had a file. A thick one. Erin Michaels. Born in Milwaukee. Attended University of Illinois with Greg. Dropped out in her second year. Gave birth to a baby boy the following spring. No father listed on the birth certificate. The son's name? Oliver. Currently 20 years old. Recently moved to Los Angeles. Studying film. And according to public records, he changed his last name 2 years ago. From Michaels to West. Dana stared at the file. Why West? She whispered. Then she flipped another page and there it was. His mother had married a man named Dean West in 2008. Dean died in 2016. Oliver kept the name. There was a phone number listed. An email. A recent headshot he was striking. Dark eyes. Strong jaw. He looked like Greg. More than any of the others. Dana wasn't sure what compelled her, but she typed the email address into her phone and started writing. Oliver, my name is Dana. I believe you and I have something important in common. If you're open to it, I'd like to talk. She hesitated, then hit send. It was out there now, floating into another life she had no control over. An hour later, her phone chimed. New email. Subject line, I was wondering when you'd reach out. Greg was behind her. Was that him? She nodded. He was expecting us. And then the next message came in. Just 6 chilling words. Tell Greg I want the truth. Attached was a video. She pressed play. The camera was handheld, shaky, filming in low light. It showed Oliver standing alone in what looked like a small apartment. He stared straight into the lens, expression unreadable. I know who you are, he said. I know what you did. And I know something you don't. Mom didn't disappear. He stepped closer, his voice a whisper now. She was paid to stay quiet. Dana's heart stopped. Greg leaned in, blinking hard. What? Oliver stared into the camera. And I can prove it. The room was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft click of the laptop's fan as the video ended. Dana looked over at Greg, whose face had gone still too still. His lips parted but no sound came out. Paid to stay quiet. The words echoed in her ears like a drumbeat. What does that mean, Greg? She asked, voice tight. You said she left. Just vanished. She did, he said. At least that's what I thought. I swear, Dana, I never gave her money, never offered anything. I didn't have anything back then. But Dana was already thinking beyond that. What if it wasn't him who paid? What if it was someone else, his parents, her parents, the clinic, someone with something to protect? The idea that Erin had been forced to disappear, bought into silence, sent a tremor through her chest. We need to meet him, she said. Oliver. We need to know the whole story. If he has proof, Greg interrupted, his voice raw. What if I don't want to know? What if the truth ruins everything we still have? Greg, Dana said slowly, it's already ruined. Unless we face this together. The next morning, they booked flights to Los Angeles. The tension between them didn't fade, but it sharpened into resolve. At the hotel, Dana refreshed her email every hour. Finally, Oliver responded with an address and a time. When they arrived at the apartment complex, it wasn't what Dana expected, modest, clean, but not flashy. Oliver opened the door before they knocked. Come in, he said simply. No smile. Just calm control. Inside, he offered water but nothing more. There were film posters on the wall, a half-edited screenplay open on a nearby laptop. He gestured toward the couch, then sat across from them, studying Greg like an unfinished puzzle. You remember Erin? Oliver asked. Yes, Greg said. I do. She remembered you too, Oliver said. Even when the cancer started taking her memory. Dana felt the air shift. She passed. 2 years ago, Oliver said. I found letters she wrote me, ones she never sent. And one of them, it was to you. He pulled out a worn envelope, slid it across the table. Greg stared at it for a long time before picking it up. His hands shook as he opened it. Dana watched his eyes scan the page, watched his face crumble in slow motion. She said she loved you, Greg whispered. She was scared. Her parents didn't want her keeping the baby. But she refused to terminate. They said if she insisted, they'd cut her off. And apparently, they made her an offer. Leave quietly. Move to another state. No contact with you. And they'd pay her way. He looked up at Oliver. She was 19. I would have helped her. I swear. She didn't believe that, Oliver said softly. She thought you'd run. Or hate her. I wouldn't have, Greg said. His voice cracked. I never stopped wondering. Dana wiped her eyes. Why didn't she reach out later? She thought it would mess up your life. She always assumed you had a family. Kids. A good thing going. And then she got sick. She told me the truth on her last night. Oliver leaned forward now. So now I'm asking, what do we do with this? No one spoke. Then Greg said, whatever you want. I can't change what happened. But I won't run from it either. Oliver nodded. Okay. But Dana could tell he wasn't done. He stood up, walked to a drawer, and pulled out another envelope. This, he said, is from the donor bank. I requested my file after I turned 18. They gave me something you might want to see. He handed it to Dana. She opened it and inside were pages of documents, but one stood out, an internal memo. It detailed how certain premium donors were used more frequently despite policy. And Greg's ID number was listed. Used over 60 times. Dana's breath hitched. 60, she whispered. There are more. Oliver nodded. A lot more. Some have no idea. Some are looking. Some are angry. Some are watching. Greg slumped in his seat. I didn't ask for this. Oliver raised an eyebrow. Did we? And then he softened. But maybe we can make something of it now. He walked to his laptop and clicked a file. A short video played, a montage of clips. Faces. Names. Young adults from across the country. We're working on a documentary, he said. About all of us. You can be part of it. Or not. But the story's happening with or without you. Greg nodded slowly. Then I'd rather help write it. Dana reached for his hand. For the first time in weeks, he didn't pull away. And for the first time in months, she didn't feel completely alone.